where every day is a happy bake day. I hope your cinnamon apple oat muffins from last week turned out delicious. If you missed that episode, you can check it out right here. Today, we are going to be making chocolate macarons with a rose filling, but we're gonna make them a little special. They're gonna be for Halloween. We're gonna make them into cute little spiders. They're gonna be great. Now, French macarons tend to be a little bit of a challenging thing to bake. So this recipe is going to be measured out in grams. And I find that baking my macarons using gram measurements tend to make the cookies the most consistent. So my ingredients here I have laid out. Again, they are in grams. And the ingredients we're going to need for the shells are 100 grams of almond flour, 100 grams of powdered sugar, 10 grams of cocoa powder, 100 grams of egg whites, 100 grams of granulated sugar, a dash of salt, and 1/8 teaspoon of cream of tartar. We're going to start by sifting together some of our dry ingredients, the sugar, the almond flour, cocoa powder, and salt. We're actually going to sift them all together twice to fully make sure we get out any clumps in the ingredients and to make sure they're fully incorporated. Anything that doesn't get sifted through, we're just gonna throw away. So with my ingredients double sifted, I've put them here aside. The next step is to make our meringue. I forgot to mention earlier that my egg whites have actually been sitting out on my counter for close to 2 hours to come up to room temperature. It doesn't actually need to be out for that long, but you do want your egg whites to be room temperature. Another trick is that you need your bowl that you're going to be whisking in to be completely clean. So your bowl has to be completely clean and dry. No water, no oils, you can't have anything in there, because what happens is your meringue unfortunately won't get stiff and it'll just get kind of soupy and smushy, and that meringue unfortunately will not work. So to make our meringue, I have our egg whites, our cream of tartar, and our sugar. I'm going to add our egg whites and cream of tartar and start mixing them together. I did bring out my hand mixer. You're welcome to use a stand mixer if you have that as well. I just feel that with the hand mixer, you have a little bit better control over the meringue, and you can stop the machine more quickly if you see that your peaks are getting nice and stiff. So we're going to mix together the cream of tartar and the egg whites first until we see them kind of get bubbly and frothy, and that might take a minute or two. Then we will slowly add in our granulated sugar and continue to mix. And then we'll turn our mixer on high to make sure that everything gets blended together really well. And that might take a few minutes, and we will slowly see our meringue thicken and get stiff and glossy peaks. Now, you do want to be careful. Don't put your mixer on the very highest setting right away. If you start whipping your meringue too high, too fast for too long, unfortunately your meringue will not turn out. So low and slow to begin with to get your eggs nice and frothy. Medium as you're adding your sugar, and then you can turn it on a higher speed as you turn your egg whites and sugar into that meringue. Look at these perfect peaks. I'm so excited. You can even see the little peaks in the bowls from when I lifted up the whisk blades. This is gonna make the perfect macarons. Can we just take a second and admire this beautiful meringue? Okay, thanks. The next step here is to take this gorgeous meringue and add it into our dry ingredients. I have my rubber spatula. And I'm just going to scoop the meringue here into my dry ingredients. I'm going to be careful, however, when I do the scooping. I'm going to try my best not to scrape down kind of the sides of the bowl, because as I was using my hand mixer, I know that the sides of the meringue did not get very well mixed, and so that's not going to be as steady or stable of a meringue. So I'm really just going to try to take the meringue that's here in the middle of the bowl and we'll add it in. Our next step is to mix together our meringue and our dry ingredients. This process is called macaronage, and you want to mix it together the best that you can. I recommend not doing it too quickly. This will slowly incorporate, slowly break down, and become kind of a wet sand texture. You want to stop periodically to test the batter. And when the batter can pull off of the spatula in really smooth, silky ribbons, that's the time to stop. You want to be careful not to overmix it or undermix it. I know that's a very complicated statement. So what we're going to do again is we're going to pause periodically, test, and keep mixing if we need to. Our macaron batter is ready to be piped. I pulled out a measuring cup really just to help me transfer the batter from the bowl into my piping bag. So I don't have actual piping bags. Instead, I took a zip top plastic bag and just trimmed it at a corner and added a piping tip. I just used a large round piping tip to help with this. I know some people use different shapes or different textures, but I'm just going to do circles to make our Halloween special macaron. I'm going to put the bag here into the measuring cup, and then we will transfer the batter from the bowl into our bag. Our batter has been transferred and it's ready to be piped. I have 2 baking sheets lined with parchment paper. I took the time and drew little circles on the parchment paper to help me better pipe even size macarons. Now you are able to use a silk mat. However, I unfortunately have not really had much success using them. My macarons never tend to bake all the way through, no matter what I've tried. So for me and for my oven, I find that using parchment paper on my baking sheets work the best. So we are going to try to pipe these as evenly and consistently as possible. This is not a race. Go slow and your macarons will be perfect. With our batter piped here onto our baking sheets, the next step is to tap our baking trays onto this solid countertop. And you're going to do it at least 5 times. I sometimes do it 7 or even 10 times. And the point of that is to have all of the air bubbles that are in your batter to come up to the surface, so that way when your tops here bake, when your meringue shells bake, that they won't be broken and they won't have air pockets, and they will be nice and beautiful. So you can see I've got bubbles that came to surface here, some here, a couple here. You can really see across all of the shells, a few air pockets did come up to the surface. So that's exactly what we want. Our last step now is to wait. I always say waiting is the hardest part in baking, and this is no exception. We are going to let these sit for at least 45 minutes, maybe even an hour, to let the shells dry out. You want them to form a nice thin skin on the top, so that way if you run your finger across the tops, there is nothing that's wet and sticky, and that they have nice and smooth and feel slightly dry to the touch. Now, I do live in the Southeast and it is pretty humid here, so sometimes I have to let these sit for an hour to let them fully dry out. Give your macarons the time and space to do that because they will be even better when you bake them. Once your macarons have dried out and they're ready for baking, you're going to preheat your oven to 300 degrees and you're going to bake these for a total of 18 minutes. But at the halfway point, so after 9 minutes, you're actually going to rotate your tray in the oven. It helps your macarons bake most evenly, just in case your oven has hot pockets or cold pockets. This way your macarons, like I said, will bake very evenly and beautifully all the way through. You also only want to bake one tray at a time. I will probably do the larger tray first and then the smaller tray, but one tray at a time, rotate halfway through, 300 degrees. Okay, so I pulled my macarons out of the oven and I let them rest on the counter for a full hour before I pulled them off of my baking trays. I have taken the time to pair up my matching tops and bottoms, so I have them laid out here. Our next step is to make our rosewater buttercream. So the ingredients you're going to need for that are 2 sticks or 1 cup of unsalted butter at room temperature, 4 cups of powdered sugar, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of rose water, 3 tablespoons of milk, and I also have my red food coloring, which is completely optional, but I am choosing to dye this buttercream a blood red, hopefully a blood red. So I brought out my stand mixer this time to make it a little bit easier to make our buttercream. Our first step is to add our butter into the stand mixer and mix it on a medium speed until the butter is nice and smooth and creamy. Then we will slowly start adding in our sugar here, 1 cup at a time, and then we will slowly add in our other ingredients. Also, don't be afraid to pause your stand mixer from time to time. You can use a rubber spatula to scrape down the sides to make sure all of your ingredients get well combined into your buttercream. Our buttercream is done and it's this gorgeous bright red color, which you can see here. It's just lovely. And it smells like roses, it's amazing. And just like how we transferred the macaron batter into our piping bag, we're going to do the same with the buttercream frosting. So I have my zip top bag and a new piping tip, and I'm just going to transfer the buttercream into the bag. After that, I'm going to pipe the buttercream onto my macaron shells, and I have some pretzel sticks that will become spider legs. That's right, we're going to be making these macarons into cute little spiders. I know, too cute. It's gonna be great. I'm very excited. So what you can do is do some of the buttercream, add your spider legs. You're welcome to add a little bit more buttercream to help them stick. Then you can put your top shell over these spider legs. Okay, our legs are added, our top shells are on. The last step is to give our spiders some eyes. I have here some candy eyeballs. I just picked them up from the grocery store. And I also have here some black icing to help dot our spiders and add their eyes. As you can see, our spiders only have 6 legs instead of 8. That's okay. Maybe they're radioactive spiders. And with that, our little macaron spiders are complete. They are so cute. I didn't really have enough eyes to add more than 2 per spider. So if you happen to buy more candy eyeballs, you can always give your spider some more eyes. I know spiders have 8 eyes. But I think these turned out fantastic and I think they will be delicious, especially with that rose water buttercream, one of my favorite fillings. Thank you so much for joining me today on Happy Bake Day while we made our chocolate macarons with our rose water buttercream, our special Halloween spiders. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed today's episode. I appreciate each and every subscriber as you join me on this journey from baker to baker. You can also check out our website and our Instagram.